Hey guys, this is Hell Hades and this is going to be another Raid Shadow Legends video. So this is going to be the video where we talk about how to beat the Fire Knights. Fire Knight's probably the toughest dungeon I think that we've got to face. Maybe Spiders is close. In fact, actually, Ice Golems, Spiders and Fire Knights are all hard in their own way. Ice Golems is just hard to get kind of some sort of speed farming going. Spiders is probably the toughest one to eventually crack, but when you crack it, it becomes one of the easier fights. Fire Knights remains difficult even when you've got a kind of decent team running. So what I want to do is kind of go through the fundamentals of what you need to build, how you need to build it, and yeah, kind of take you through what the Fire Knight actually does. Before we get into it, let's kind of run through some of the gear sets you can gain here. So I think early in this game's release, Fire Knights was viewed as probably somewhere to avoid. So it didn't hold any of the main sets that you would need for Clan Boss. And probably until Platinum Arena was launched and people cared about Arena, Fire Knights probably wasn't really used that much. But in terms of Arena, actually Fire Knights has got some of the best gear sets available. Also in terms of Faction Wars, it's got some of the best gear sets available. So just going to run through them. Fury is awful. Curing is equally as bad. Immunity is becoming kind of top meta gear set for Arena if you can get a good set. Basically means that for the first 2 turns you will not be CC'd in any way, so you won't be frozen up by your Torments or that type of stuff. The annoying thing for me about this set, and I wish they would fix this, is the immunity sits on you like a buff and it can actually just be cleansed. And I think if you've gone to the effort of putting someone in immunity gear, then they should be immune from even the cleanse for those first 2 turns. Otherwise it's pretty easy to counter. Anyway, that's immunity, that's pretty good. Shield set is one of the best sets for anyone in early game that's struggling to clear dungeon content. Put a shield set on, it basically gives you extra HP shield for your whole team every time you enter a new phase of that dungeon. So you kill wave 1 of mobs, shield set was on at the start, go into wave 2 and the shield set reappears. So it's actually very useful for that. It's also very useful for Arena. Crit damage set is great for nuking champs if you can get good pieces from it. Only a 2-piece set as well, so you can actually get some good benefit on that pretty quickly. Frenzy set is good situationally. So basically as you take more damage you get more turn meter. So this is good to put on somebody that you're trying to interrupt the turn order on an enemy team. Regen set I think is pretty poor. Stun set is amazing. It's really great for Faction Wars. It's pretty useful for Arena. It's useful for dungeon content. Basically it enables you to have control of the waves more effectively, and stun is one of the best kind of forms of CC in this game. And then you've got Savage set, which is for your kind of nuke champions to ignore defense. So again, this enables people to hit really hard. So actually out of these you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of these sets I'd say now sit in kind of top tier, as in meta, certainly for Arena and some of the content. And then there's probably another couple of sets in there which still sit as kind of off meta, but still useful, with maybe 4 sets which I would just completely bin, 3 sets I would bin straight out every time. So just talking through the dungeon then. Up until stage 6 there is you basically got the end boss will have a shield mechanic. So up until stage 6 he's got a shield which is 5 layers deep, and then after stage 6, so 7 right through to 20, his shield is 10 layers deep. So the mechanic of the boss is that you have to break that shield before you can do any damage, do any debuffs, basically hurt him in any way at all. And the way you do that is by auto attacks. So if you lay some sort of crazy big nuke on him, it doesn't go through the shield, it just counts as 1 hit. So what you actually need is you need to build a composition that can get through the shield. There's a number of ways you can do it, and I'm going to show you a few of them here. And I'm going to talk through them first. So the first way you can do it is just to bring a lot of champions with multi-hit A1s. So basically what you want is for the champion to use his A1 and do 3 or 4 hits. So those 3 or 4 hits will all kind of remove one layer of that shield. If you've got 2 or 3 people in your team that are doing that, then quickly you get through the shield, and then you are able to start laying debuffs, turn meter reductions, all that type of good stuff. So that's kind of method 1. Method 2 is to use a counter-attack champion and enable the counter-attacker to let you counter-attack and then hit with your A1s and reduce the shield that way. And then method 3 is to use somebody with reflect damage, and reflect damage will also take away layers of that shield. So the biggest problem with this dungeon is you actually need to get to the boss before you're able to do any of those things, and in most instances the champions that are really good at doing those things to the boss are not great at clearing waves. And that's the biggest problem. You almost need to sub different champions in when you get to the boss compared to when you're outside the boss. So what I'm going to do then is just kind of show you some setups that can work, some champions that might do it well for you. I'm going to sort of have a mixture of very strong champions and weaker ones, just so you get a feel for what can work and what doesn't. What I would say is there's some top tier legendaries here that can really help you. So people that revive champions are a big help in this dungeon, because the waves hit really hard. When you're on stage 20, the waves hit very hard. I think what I might do is just take it back a couple of stages to say 17, which tends to be where 16, 17 tends to be where people start to struggle. So let's go with 17. And I'll go in with some rares just so you can kind of see. My rares are decent though, so it's not like my rares are weak, but kind of gives you a feel for the sort of teams that I could run here. So Cold Hearts are amazing in this dungeon. Apothecary is amazing in this dungeon. The reason why they're both so good is because they both got multi-hit A1s. Yeah, so they're able to kick out a number of hits and start breaking the shield very quickly. So if you had 2 Apothecaries built, then that's perfect. It kind of really helps you. So this first composition I'm going to show you is kind of multi-hit A1ers that can help you get through the dungeon. So 1, 2, we're going to go with Kale. We're going to go with a War Maiden. So what I'm doing here is I'm building a team. Actually, I'm building a negative affinity team. Let's skip back to 16 just so I can show you this setup. Yeah, so what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to build a team that's got multi-hits that, if they don't have multi-hit A1, then they've got multi-hits on their other abilities. So this team is all about breaking the shield, but they also need to be able to take out the waves that they get to before the boss. So the easiest way to do that is to lay a decreased defense on the wave. So you kind of want somebody like a War Maiden, or as you get further through the game, you might have a Tyrell, or you might have a Tomb Lord. So somebody that can just kind of wipe AoE hit with the decreased defense. That makes this much easier. You then need enough AoE damage to be able to actually nuke the waves down, but with champions that can also hurt the boss. And then what I like to do is just bring somebody in for support. So my Reliquary Tender is good for this. So she can heal, she can revive, she can remove debuffs. She's only got a single hit A1, but the rest of the team do enough in that sense anyway. So we've got a 3-hit A1 here, a 1-hit A1 but a 4-hit A2, a 3-hit A1 here, a 2-hit A1 here, and then a 1-hit here. So between them, there's enough to get rid of the shield. I'd say what you want to try and get into your team is some speed. So speed helps you recycle your abilities quicker. Ideals are to get decreased speed on the enemy boss. There's also an ideal to have somebody like a Cold Heart who has a heal reduction piece, because when you get to the actual boss, he has a mechanic in his kit which basically heals back his HP that he's lost. I'll talk about the boss when we get to him though. So let's just kind of clear through some waves. So you'll see here, speed up. We've got a bit of nukage, AoE, decreased defense, which enables my champs to hit much harder and make it much easier for me to kind of clear. And a Reliquary Tender is just there to kind of keep me topped up and yeah, nuke the boss. I don't know if this is going to end up going on forever because I'm fighting a Paragon here. Might well do. Let's see. I might just turn auto off in a second. So I think you can just keep that on. Oh, a stun going on is perfect. So I've got one War Maiden in stun gear. So at least I can control him, not just putting that ability back on again. I completely forgot Paragons were in this setup on stage 17. But you see here, so in terms of the gear I've got on, I've got speed gear on my Apothecary, I've got stun gear on my War Maiden, I've got some damage and speed gear on my KO and accuracy, and then I've got speed on my Reliquary Tender and decent damage on my Apothecary. So Apothecary is all about crit damage. So you see here, I pause it quickly, not quick enough. So it started off with 10 layers of shield on this boss, and the boss has got 3 different abilities. First thing you've got to do is get through the shield before you do any damage, any debuffs. If you're running it on auto, you're just running it really down to the luck of whether you hit your abilities at the right time, and it's quite frustrating fight. But basically the boss has got some different abilities. So he's got an attack on his A1, which is an AoE. All of his stuff's AoE. Basically, the damage he deals, you'll lose 15% of that off your max HP. So as the fight goes on, your health pools diminish and you're more likely to lose. His A2 is a harder hitting AoE. It's on a 5-turn cooldown, and it hits hard. It hits hard, this one. It also places the bigger version of decreased speed on your team. That's why somebody like a cleanser is useful to have in your team, like a Reliquary Tender, or somebody else like a Muslim Mage, Bad Elf if you've got them. Anyone that can kind of cleanse your team is really helpful. And then he's got a couple of passives. So one passive here is basically talking about his shield. So it starts with the shield and basically only do 80% of the damage through that shield. He reduces 80% of the damage that you're doing, and you can't do any debuffs, turn meter stuff, anything like that. And then he's got another passive, which is the usual one for bosses. So the main thing to be aware of is you need people that can get through the shield, and then when you're through the shield, you need to land debuffs and start to control his turn meter. So I'm going to throw it on auto now. And the aim is we just 4-hit A1 there, see that? Got through his shield. And now we're on to his actual health pool. We've got a decreased attack going on. I would like to have got a decreased defense on then as well, but didn't get it. And my aim is to land this so that I actually get my Cold Hearts, Heart Seeker, going off at the right time. Now, reduces that turn meter back and gives me enough time to get some proper damage done. It's really important to have somebody in your lineup that does this 100% heal reduction, or at least a 50% heal reduction, because it makes a big difference. He's not healing back here in between my fights, whereas if I didn't have that on, he would have chunked back a massive chunk of his health. So this is all about team coordination and setup. And if you've got a decent sort of setup with multi-hit A1s, these fights will go through quite easy. So this is obviously level 17. I've taken it back a level to try and kind of show you a team of rares. I'll try and run the same team through stage 20, which obviously stage 20 is a massive sort of step up for any team. Let's just try it. The affinity is weak for Kale and for Cold Heart, and for Apothecary. I don't know why I always get those two mixed up, so I'm just going to switch that one out. Let's get someone else that does some AoE. Seer is actually pretty fun for this. You can kind of run in and absolutely nuke champions. Let's go in with someone like a Vala, who's going to be a free-to-play champion soon if you've got Amazon Prime. So she kind of does some AoE hits as well, and she brings decreased defense and some self-shielding. So you see, we're kind of getting stuns off with the War Maiden stun gear. We've got AoE damage going in through the team. We've got speed coming from my Apothecary and heals. So it's just about maintaining the balance of the fight. Having stun gear on somebody is very helpful, really helpful. Having shield gear on somebody is helpful as well. So my Reliquary Tender's in shield gear right now. See, I've started the turn here with a shield again. So it's just about giving me enough time to get my main abilities off so I can start doing my damage. And wave 2 normally is the toughest wave, because wave 1 you've got all of your your A3s available. When you land on on wave 2, often you don't have a lot of those abilities available to you. So you see here, we're kind of just clearing it down. It's not a quick clear. That's not what we're about. It's about control, and it's about kind of team composition. There's not one person in my team that is wearing an attack percentage chest. Everybody's in HP or defense. It's all about sustain, getting through the fight, and enabling me to kind of get to that boss position. And then once we're in against the boss, it's then about having the right composition to break the shield and keep his health pool down. So back up to 10 on the shield. I don't want my cold heart to do his Heartseeker there. That's the most annoying thing I ever see, because it's done nothing. It didn't reduce any turn meter, and that's basically a kind of clear go for the boss. One of the things to be aware of is if you break the shield, then his hit doesn't do the reduce your life pool. But if you can't break the shield, then it does do your reduce your life pool. So breaking the shield each time is really important. So this is good. We've got the 100% heal reduction on, so he's not healing up. We've got our A1s kind of going in at the right time now, and hopefully we don't get the Heartseeker there. We didn't. Good. So our next ability is going to be Heartseeker. Got some good damage coming in from champions when that shield breaks. And yeah, we look like we're in pretty good shape to do this. So, I mean, if you're able to do anything really under 3-minute runs, then that's good for this. It took me a long time to get a team that was consistently doing under 2 minutes, and I've got some pretty high-end champs. So, yeah, I think when you're kind of on your Arbiter missions, it's more about, can I just find a way to do it, let alone can I do crazy speed runs? There are some champions that really help you with speed runs, and we can perhaps have a look at that afterwards, but it's not massively the point of this video. This is more about the mechanics and how you get there. So if you see here, we're kind of just whittling down the boss. I think we're probably just a bit out of sync with stuff like the Heartseekers, which is a bit annoying. But we should have one there. We did, but the shield hadn't quite broken yet. But you can see it's a tough fight. So our heal reduction has come off now. If we don't get through the shield and get that heal reduction back on, then this potentially becomes unwinnable. See the way he's healing back up? So it's gone from looking like a kind of cakewalk, easy fight, but because Heartseekers went out of sync, see they're out of sync again. Did get the turn meter down that time. So I need that heal reduction back on here, but it's done the wrong ability. You see what I mean? It's just like the RNG of this is sometimes really frustrating. Got it off there, so that's good. He's not going to heal this time. But all the time I'm taking hits, my health pools are slowly reducing because of the ability from the boss. Nearly there though. So it's going to be about a 4.5 minute run, which I guess given the team we've got there is not terrible. That could be nice. Not bad. Not bad. So this then is a kind of multi-hit team. What we're going to do now is show a team that includes a counter-attacker. So my counter-attacker is Skull Crusher, who is fine in terms of affinity here. I think otherwise I'll just keep it the same to make this easy in terms of trying to show you. What you tend to find is a counter-attack comp is, I'd say it's easily the safest way of doing this. If you've got a counter-attacker, it's the safest way of clearing this dungeon. But it's also probably the slowest, because you've got somebody in your team that generally is not doing that much, and you're also reliant on the RNG falling in a good way for you. So certainly early on when I was trying to clear 20, I used counter-attacker for most of my efforts, and it works well. But it's definitely a slower run for level 20 stuff. And you're also very reliant on, oh, that was close. You're very reliant on the counter-attack landing at the right time when the boss places his hits. So if the counter-attack's on at the right time, then great, you break the shield almost immediately. It also means if you've got a counter-attacker in, you don't necessarily need so many multi-hits. You could take, maybe you could bring someone like a Steel Skull in here. You could bring somebody like a Bad L. Anyone that would give you a bit more utility that perhaps has only got single hits. You could bring someone like a Kaimar, a Tyrell, anyone like that who might be part of your clan boss team already, because the counter-attacker is going to give you the extra hits you need to get through that shield. You see here again, it's not quick going through these waves, but equally we're probably not really in any sort of trouble. And I'd say for anyone who's got a counter-attacker, this is probably the simplest technique, really. Also, someone like a Skull Crusher, Valkyrie, Martyr, they all bring their own way of helping you sustain. So Skull Crusher takes the damage off of your team. Valkyrie puts massive shields on your team, and Martyr puts the increased defense stuff up, and provokes. So each of them have got their own way of making this much easier. But obviously not everyone's got counter-attackers, which is why I'm trying to show a couple of different ways. I'm pretty sure as well, so we've just had a spider dungeon competition tournament thing. We just had a dragon, or we're in the middle of a dragon one right now as I'm recording this. So I would be really shocked if we don't have a Fire Knights one coming up in the next few days. So here we go. We've got the multi-hits going in again. Counter-attack goes up. So if we get a hit right now, we've got 4 people, only 3 actually, 1 rolled off, but 3 people are going to put their hits in as counter-attacks. So we've already got rid of 5 layers of the shield before we even start our abilities. Shield's open, and the enemy boss has barely actually sort of moved his turn meter at all. So that's the benefit. It means you get a chunk of time to do more damage, versus if it wasn't off. You see here, we managed to get all of our debuffs we wanted on. Didn't have counter-attack up in time that time. So again, it's RNG whether you get it or not. But you'd hope to get it, which means our Heartseeker goes out of sync again. It's really annoying. But the shield's open again. We do our counter-attack up this time, so we should break through most of this shield. We've broken through, what, 5, 6... So we've broken through 9 layers just because of counter-attack before we even start doing our normal abilities. That's why it's so good. 9 layers, which means you're more likely, if that Heartseeker comes off, you're more likely to get it at the right time. Here we go again. Going to break through the same level of layers, 9 layers before we do anything, which should give us perfect opportunity to lay our main abilities. And yeah, feels like we're in good shape now to do this pretty quickly. Not going to get counter-attack up this time by the looks of it. Not going to be up in time, which means we've got a much tougher road here to try and get through the shield. Especially when everyone's just kind of doing their weird abilities. Come on, break through it. It's getting pretty close to killing someone. There she goes. She's actually a frustrating person to lose, because she's such an important part. Not just for the Heartseeker, she's important for a lot of this in terms of her multi-hit A1. And yeah, kind of general utility she's bringing. Heal reduction. So much of this is based on her kit. I do have a heal reduction possibility from Skull Crusher, but it's the weaker version, so it would only lay 50%. And to activate it, you actually have to do something which you don't want to do, which is give him higher accuracy. And actually, in the clan boss, you don't want him laying this ability. So if he's your clan boss version of Skull Crusher, the chances are you're not going to have him set up so that he's going to land his heal reduction. There are ways to kind of overcome it. So you can build gear which has got heal reduction built into it. So it is from, I think it's from the Ice Golem. Curse gear. So this gear here gives you the ability to place a 50% heal reduction debuff. If you don't have anyone in your lineup that could do it, then that is good gear to do it. So lastly, I'm going to show you how to do this with Fellhound. So Fellhound brings the reflect damage buff. I think perhaps we'll take her out, put him in, do something different. Tomb Lord's actually really effective in Fire Knights. Maybe I'll bring in, I want to change it up too much, but he does what War Maiden would be doing, so I'm going to take War Maiden out and throw in Razin, who is pretty effective here as well. So a couple of legendaries in here, but just to show you what they're going to do differently. The Razin's got this move here, which reduces turn meter on everybody. Tomb Lord does that decrease attack and decrease defense on everybody, and a lot of poisons. He's also got a reduced turn meter built into his kit as well if the boss is below 50% HP, which is really useful for the sort of final part of the fight. So again, it's down to RNG though, so whether Razin does his move at the right time or not is pure luck. Unless somebody's brainier than me and can actually sort of speed tune it to work, but I think you'd have to be pretty up there, crazy intelligent to make that work. So you see here, I mean, obviously with a couple of legendaries, it's flowing through much quicker because they've got some bit more sort of damage output, but we're still running 3 rares in here, 2 of which are full support. These 2 are doing no damage in any of these fights, and actually Fellhound does a bit of damage with his AoE hit, but mainly Fellhound's in there as a support role as well. And this setup is all now based around Fellhound having reflect damage on his ability. So if we go into the boss, obviously the boss is going to start with his 10 layers of shield, and I'll slow it down so I can show you what happens. So I'll just A1 it, A1 it, A1 it. So I get to my Fellhound, A1, here we go. So Fellhound has got this ability here, yeah, A2. So basically it places a heal on everybody, which is good, but also plays a reflect damage on everybody. So what's going to happen is when the Fire Knight boss hits us, we're going to reflect a small amount of damage back at the boss. It doesn't hurt the boss, but what that will do is get rid of a layer of shield for everybody that's got that buff on, which will be, in our instance, we've just we've just reduced his turn meter at the right time there, but in our instance that would have been 5 hits on the boss. So we'll run it through until, and I'll slow it down when we get to the point where he's going to be hitting us again. You see at the moment everybody's got reflect damage on. So see that the shield has gone directly down to 5 levels because all 5 people had reflect damage on. So I've only got 5 layers to get through before I start doing damage again. So again, it's just another mechanic like the counter attack really, that enables you to get through to the main boss part of the fight much quicker. He also brings a little bit of utility with him, so these heals are quite useful. His A1 actually hurts quite a lot as well. But see here, reflect damage 5 times, so we're straight through that shield and we're on to kind of easy street. And yeah, all the time you're kind of doing that, it enables you to have more luck to get that off at the right time, because you've got less chance you're playing that ability when the boss has got a shield up, which is one of the most annoying things. You see there, Tomb Lord just did his ability that reduced turn meter as well, his Blight. So with 2 champions in here that are reducing turn meter and all of that reflect damage, it means that it becomes relatively easy as a fight. We don't have any massive hitters in here. It's just about using the abilities to kind of open up the window of opportunity for us. So again, it's not a quick run, 3 minutes 40 odd. It's not quick, but it is effective. Okay, so that's the kind of 3 setups. I'm just going to show you now a couple of runs that I do. So Tomb Lord is in my main team normally. I'll either have Apothecary or Arbiter in my lineup. I normally run a couple of Cold Hearts for speed purposes. So a couple of all multi-hitters here, every one of them. And I also normally run, who's my other one I normally run? Play around with so many champs I can't even remember. tried running Ghostborn, who is actually pretty good. Oh, Fushan, that was it. So Fushan goes in as a speed lead. Fushan's decent here. So speed lead here, multi-hits on a number of his abilities, extra speed and healing. We've got 4 people here that do multi-hit A1s. We've got poison, we've got decreased defense, and we've got 3 people that have got turn meter control. So there's a lot of control, there's a lot of damage, and this becomes, providing RNG sits with me well, this becomes quite a good kind of speed run. So you'll see we're taking a bit of damage. Apothecary is normally the target because he's negative affinity, but he's built up relatively tanky, so he can take a couple of hits and still smile back. So what's that, 27 seconds through the first wave, which is not too bad. There's definitely, I mean, there's so many champions, it's probably not worth me going through champion by champion. Are they good and they're not good? The thing you want to look for is, do they have a multi-hit A1? And, cool, that was a big hit. And do they have the ability to kind of bring something else to the boss or to the waves? So that ability could be in AoE damage, that ability could be in decreased defense and weaken. You're kind of just looking for a couple of different ways that you can get some benefit out of having somebody in your team. I'm not actually sure I'm going to do this without my second cold heart, so we shall see. Don't normally lose someone by getting one shot like that. The main thing here is, am I going to get the shield down on this first occasion, or is she going to do that? So annoying. That Heartseeker there is really frustrating. It means it just throws me totally out. We should get through the shield. No, see then again he's wrong. We've got the heal reduction on. We just need to land the Heartseeker. There we go. Now we're back on, probably back on form now. Normally this is probably about a 1:40 run, so it's, because I've lost somebody, it's obviously going to be much longer. What happens when you've got two cold hearts in this position is you actually cycle the Heartseeker and the boss actually never gets a turn. But when you lose one, I don't have quite enough speed and she does stupid stuff like that, which means that there's a good chance I'm not going to do it. It's going to be close. It's going to be close, but we got him. Yeah, so not the not the cleanest of runs to show in a video, but hey, that's reality of how some of this stuff goes. So let's just show a different kind of setup. So the final setup I'm going to show you is with what's her name? Azure, I think it's her name is, or Alure. Where are you? Alure. So she has got an A1 which decreases the target's turn meter by 25% on each critical hit. You basically need to build her up with more crit rate than that. Don't have the right gear on her. Let me just change her up quickly. Is she out already? Somewhere. Yeah, so she has got an ability on her A1 that every time she does a critical hit, she will decrease turn meter of the enemy. So you need for her to have high crit rate and high survivability. The biggest problem with her is she can go down so fast. She's very squishy. You have to build her up very defensively. She's not there for damage, although she can do damage if you build her in kind of a high damage way. But she is basically just there to reduce that turn meter of the boss. Just trying to find some gloves that are already made, save me spending more silver. Obviously I don't invest much in crit rate gloves because I can't find any. There'll be some here somewhere. There we go. So too many items now. Yeah, so basically what you want to do is you want to build her with high crit rates and high survivability. So we're going to crit rate here. I might as well pair that up with some more of the same set. So we've got ourselves up to what, 92%. We want to go defense or HP chest. Probably HP is actually better on her because her defense base is really low. So I'm going to switch this up to an HP chest. You're going to get some crit damage going on her as well. Get that crit rate up a little bit more. So we're now up to basically 100%, near enough 200% crit damage. And we've got, what, 34k HP. This can be crit damage, but you might be better off putting her in a defense set so that she stays alive through the waves. I'm going to go for crit damage though and see if we can get some damage out of her in this run. Defense ring though, and accuracy amulet. She does need accuracy to land the reduced turn meter, so actually she might need a bit more than what she's got. So I've got 64, so actually what I'm going to do is just flip some accuracy gear on her quickly. You want her over 200 accuracy really to make that work. So we're going to go, what have I got, what have I got? Should have geared it before I did this. So I'm just going to go with that instead, and with one of these helms I've already rolled. A bit of HP on it is helpful. Speed and HP. Yeah. Okay, so we are sitting at what, 92% crit rate, which is good. 200 accuracy, which is okay. 36k 1.7 is okay. It's not brilliant. She might go down a couple of times. I'm going to run a composition that brings her up, so my blind seer can bring her back up. The idea is if we get to the main boss, she will do all of the work for us. We just got to get to the boss and break the shield. So the team needs to kind of set me up so that I can do that. So I've got some shield in here and a resurrect if I need it. I think I'm just going to run my... I'll run my War Maiden maybe. No, I'm going to run Apothecary for speed to try and rotate that back. So let's try this. So we've got decrease defense, decrease attack and defense on the Tomb Lord. We've got a bit of AoE damage coming in from the Alure. She's definitely going to be the target because she is going to be squishy. See the way they're going for her. She's not doing tons of damage. I didn't expect her to really. But the idea is we just get through the waves and hopefully my blind seer and my apothecary keep her alive. You can get her into real quick runs. If you've got some really kind of hard-hitting champs that clear these waves fast, then she can be the way that you do really fast speed runs. You know, if you put her in a team that's got like, I don't know, maybe if I threw blind seer into this team, or if I threw a Royal Guard into this team, I could get through these waves and just kind of melt them away. It's not really what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to just kind of show you the thinking and the method of doing it, rather than trying to impress you with my crazy runs. So you see here, she is vulnerable. She's taking hits, but I've got enough support in the team to just kind of keep her going for now. And we've got enough damage coming in from the other guys to start wiping people out. Hopefully we take 1 or 2 out before they get their next sort of set of turns. This shows for me, like every time I do these guides, it surprises me again just how effective Apothecary is at all dungeon content. You know, if I'm ever looking for a rare to bring in that validates that you can do this stuff with rares, he is first on the list of pretty much any dungeon. So you can probably hear my dogs in the background. I can't do anything about that, I'm afraid. And yeah, so we get onto the final boss here. And as long as we get into the stage where we're actually breaking through the shield, see the turn meter reduction there? And we should now never lose that turn meter reduction benefit. So the boss shouldn't move quick enough to be able to stop me doing this. See that? Down to 0 again. And this is going to end up being a really easy run. So we've now got, what, 3 people on this lineup that can do turn meter reduction, but she slaps it right down to 0. So really, really good champion for this. But you have to build her so that she can take a hit and get through those first waves. You know, if she wasn't taking those hits initially, then she would be dead about 6 times. So that is going to end it for this video. Hopefully that's been of help. If you've got any comments or questions, please fire them down below. But otherwise, Hell Hades out. Cheers, guys.